This week's Torah portion covers Exodus 13:17 to 17:16. In a nutshell, this reading presents a series of rapid-fire miracles. The Israelites finally leave Egypt, the waters part, and they march through on dry land with walls of water on their right and left. Pharaoh's army drowns in their pursuit of the runaway slaves. The miracle is so profound that the Israelites spontaneously burst into the song at the sea, a hymn praising the Lord's deliverance that is still recited in synagogues today. However, after 3 days of being in the desert, the Israelites complain of a lack of food and drink. Hunger and thirst have a way of clouding anyone's vision. The former slaves begin to regret their change of circumstances. What seems obvious to them is that there's no way the desert will provide enough food and drink for a roaming crowd of refugees. And they were right. Their provisions would take another series of miracles. God commands Moses to sweeten the bitter waters of Marah by throwing a piece of wood in the water. God rains manna from heaven every morning. Quail meat is provided in abundance every evening. This culinary arrangement lasts for 40 years. Here, I want to zone in on one specific miracle out of all the miracles in these 5 chapters of Exodus: the provision of manna. Manna in Hebrew means, what is it? Even the Israelites were clearly not familiar at first with this strange substance that became a staple of their daily diet. Other than calling it bread from heaven, the Bible provides few other details. Manna is described as fine and flaky, like morning frost covering the ground. It was white, like coriander seed. In one passage, manna is said to taste sweet, like wafers and honey. In Numbers, we are told that they could grind the manna and use it in cakes. God commanded that the manna be gathered each day, otherwise it spoiled quickly. Except for on Sabbath, they could take a double portion without the risk of the manna spoiling. The rabbis in their commentaries attribute mysterious qualities to the manna. They say it was an adaptive food that could taste like whatever the eater craved. Rashi, the famous medieval French rabbi, claimed that manna was the perfect food, completely metabolized and absorbed so the body had no waste product from it. In the 5th century, Byzantine monks in the Sinai desert wandered around the oases where the Israelites likely decamped. At every oasis in the Sinai, there is an abundance of tamarisk trees. The monks noticed that each morning there were white cotton ball-like droplets on the branches of the tamarisk trees. The wafers melted in the midday sun or were overrun by ants, but a new supply would be back on the branches the next morning. These droplets are the product of a kind of plant lice that reside on tamarisk trees every spring. They suck the sap from the trees and excrete the droplets out on the branches. The droplets are full of carbohydrates. They taste sweet like honey, but have a creamy quality. Now, I know that modernists often try to debunk the Bible by explaining away miracles with natural explanations. I'm not proposing that the manna was anything less than a miracle. The monks may have found a natural explanation for the identity of the manna. Still, the great abundance of the manna and consistency of its production was a God-sized miracle. God still had to bend the laws of nature for this miracle, just maybe not suspend them. The Sinai creates about 500 pounds of the tamarisk resin wafers every year. Though that is a surprising amount, it is nowhere near what would have been required for the Israelites' daily needs. Also, the tamarisk trees only produce the droplets each spring. And even in the spring, it doesn't happen every year or every day. But the Bible says that manna was provided to the Israelites every day, year-round, for 40 years. As I said, the manna it melts away in the sun, but the Israelites were able to harvest extra manna only in preparation for the Sabbath. Only then would the manna not spoil. And finally, the manna immediately stopped when they reached the borders of Canaan. That all sounds pretty miraculous to me. I propose that the manna miracle is one of the many examples in which we see that nature serves God and not the other way around. That may have been the case with the bread from heaven. That does not make it less miraculous or worthy of praise. In fact, Jesus uses a manna metaphor for himself in John 6. Jesus said to a group of onlookers who were awed by his miracles, "Very truly, I tell you, it is not Moses who has given you the bread from heaven, but it is my Father who gives you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is the bread that comes down from heaven and gives life to the world." Jesus declared, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never grow hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty." Jesus was given a normal human body. He was fully man, but like manna, his natural appearance did not discount his heavenly origin. Shabbat Shalom.